Yay, we're live. I am so excited. I'm getting much better at this for all of you that have been following along. It happens so much more seamlessly. Welcome back to Turning Leaves, Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery. This is July. It's the first week. We just celebrated Independence Day. And what a better way to talk about this than living free from a lot of different things, whether it be a habit or just a lifestyle or a true addiction that's holding you hostage. This week, I have a very special guest with me. But first, I'll highlight, this is Julie. I'm so excited she's here. We haven't got to spend a whole lot of time with each other lately, so this is very special for me. Next week, Dee Dee will be back with us. And then I have another new friend coming. Her name is Merelda. And then Rebecca Lemasters will be back because we really want to be able to round everything out and help you learn how to get connected with a provider that's going to be best suited for you. Anyway, this is Julie. Everybody, welcome her. She is such a special friend. And there's a big reason for that, because Julie does some very special work. She helps moms rebuild their foundational health in partnership with her Shaklee, the work that she does through Shaklee, and as a hybrid athlete trainer, right? So she's earned a lot of certification and different degrees. I have it written down there for you to read. But what we wanted to talk about today is all of those unique ways that both her and I have created to recover mind, body, and spirit. Right? Because for those of you who know me and know my journey or my experience or my recovery process, or should I say the whole story, you know that a big downfall for me was empty nest. As the 5 children started growing up and moving out, it was, wow, wait a minute. What's my purpose? What's my role? What's my need? Because I was so externally driven, right? Like all of that validation and value was based on how much I was needed by others or how much I could do for others. And so when, it came back to just me, I mean, of course, my husband is here. He's always been here and he's my biggest fan and I love him to death. But you know what? He had a job also. So travel and being distant, has been always a part of that. So I found myself just going, oh, now what? And so, you can only clean and drink beer so long and think that that's going to work effectively and give you a true meaning of self. And also, that I've struggled and battled with a lot of autoimmune issues. Of course, those labels that I don't any longer, wear on my shoulder, whether that be rheumatoid arthritis, mixed connective tissue disease, erythromelalgia. And I found that Western medicine is, and I'm no spring chicken here, okay? So I'm in my 50s, early 50s, but I'm in my 50s nonetheless. Over time, you all of a sudden you look in this ginormous pill box and you've got all of these prescriptions that may have started 25 years ago and you're still on them and you're like, why? So one of my biggest aspirations has been to reduce and or remove medications. And I've been doing this through mindset. I've been doing this through dietary practice, right? And actively seeking how I can support healing and recovery in a lot of different ways. And of course, removing alcohol and tobacco and prescription anxiety medication and the list goes on, greatly contributed to my ability to remove some of the other things, to include cholesterol medicine. So anyway, you guys have heard a lot from me about my journey and my story. So I love to bring in new people to share how do you even you have youngsters. We were just talking beforehand, like they don't want to nap today. So y'all are getting me how I come. And I'm like, we like real people. We like people to come as they are, be who they are, and embrace who they are. So, how do you have this mindset already?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you, and I'm so glad that we reconnected. I know it's been a long time, so I'm so glad that we got to do this. And you kind of told a little bit about your story and how it really resonated with me to hear you talk about how you lost yourself in motherhood. And you didn't realize it until your children were out of the home. But I'm thankful that I realized it a lot earlier on, when I was only the mother of one. And I'm a military spouse. My husband is in the Marine Corps. And I think it all kind of came to a head for me when we were stationed overseas in Japan. And so it was me and my 2-year-old son and my husband. We arrived in this new country, and he was whisked off to work, and it was just me and my son in this completely foreign place. And I realized, motherhood had become all of me, and I didn't know who I was anymore. And it was this wonderful opportunity to grow. And even though at the time, I was probably almost 30 years old, if I wasn't already, but I realized that was when I really became a woman, and I really became an adult, because I had to do it all on my own. I had to rediscover myself. And I did that really through starting to take care of myself again. I'd always considered myself to be healthy. I was an athlete all through middle school and high school and college. I didn't play college sports, but I was always into fitness, and I always, felt that I knew how to eat healthy. But, when you become a mother, everything changes and your priorities change. And sometimes, like you said, you kind of have to hit rock bottom to realize, wow, like I need to take care of me again. And so actually the company that I'm partnered with now, Shaklee, was a huge part of helping me to begin to take better care of my body. And additionally, too, I have a very similar story in terms of, medications and finding another way. I was on anxiety medication for a decade, and I had the same realization. I was like, why am I still on this? Every time they were just like, how do you like your medicine? And I was like, I don't know, I guess it's good. And they're like, okay, we'll keep you on it. But I had, because of that transition to Okinawa, I kind of came to a crossroads or a fork in the road where it was like, I'm either going to have to increase my medication, or I'm going to have to find another way. And so I had to find another way. And that was what led me down this path to get that certificate from the University of Arizona in integrative lifestyle and wellness. And now here, so I'm not a trainer yet for hybrid athlete training. I'm still pursuing my certified personal trainer certification. But it's in the works.
You're almost there.
Yeah, we're really close. It'll happen this month. And so that's kind of just how I wound up down that road. It was very personal. But also it allowed me to, by partnering with the company that helped me so much, I was able to then turn it around and help other moms too. And so I never thought I'd be here doing what I'm doing now, but it's been.
Well, I think it's so powerful though, because, I've had people, I just had this conversation, and I'm trying to remember the whole story, but I just had this conversation with another professional, right? Another female entrepreneur. And it was, she was very much like into speaking and engaging with people based on, I can't start yet because I don't have this credential or that credential or this or that. And what I said to her was, does your personal story connect with what you're building? And she said, yes. I said, that's your message. That is your message, that people have to see the mess that we've gone through. While we're learning, like I launched this program as I was, building and learning. And every time I uncovered one more thing that I'm like, okay, we need to incorporate this. I got to go, learn it. But you can still be presenting it as you're learning. And I think it's important that people realize that life doesn't stop. Right? Like things don't stop just because you want to stop and learn something. Share as you're learning. Mm-hmm. This shows people that it's okay to learn. It's okay not to know. It's okay to be seeking. It's okay to all of these things. It's okay to admit to having a mess going on, right? Like it's totally okay to go, I have choices to make here. And I think it's amazing that you're taking this, because I know a lot of people like myself. Again, my husband traveled a lot. I wasn't uprooted. We didn't move around a lot, but there was that distance where it was like, okay, I had to, hold the fort, right? Like you have to hold the fort, but that doesn't mean stop taking care of yourself. If we want to lead by good example for our children, we have to start by living for ourselves first without feeling guilty, selfish, punished, or restricted, right? We have to live for ourselves first, which means, give yourself that space to meditate. Give yourself that space to learn something that's interesting to you. Give yourself the space to, learn more about dietary practices or whatever it is, right? Like a balanced life is a whole lot bigger than what people really think it is. I used to think like, my job is to be the homemaker, right? And so balance for me was home and physical health. That was it, right? There's so much more. There's spirituality, there's life planning, there's, larger family circles, there's social, there's recreational. I'm missing one, of course, work, right? And so work, I used to downgrade myself. And then I started realizing, what, just because I'm not working right now doesn't mean I'm not educated, doesn't mean I'm not trained, doesn't mean I'm not hireable or employable, because I was, right? Like I had a whole history of career behind me before I became a mom, or a mother of 5, should I say? Because when I started with 1, it was a whole lot different. But anyway, I think it's really important that people hear, like, you can test waters, you can try things. And if it works well for you, great. Know why it's working well for you and then build from there. And if you feel like you need more elements, keep seeking. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And something that you said about, how you have to take care of yourself first. I just wanted to add to that one of the things that, especially since I've been with hybrid athlete training, and that's sort of the same thing too. I started with Shaklee and I learned a certain number of things and I felt a whole lot better. And then I started working with hybrid athlete training and I learned different things and realized that I didn't know it all before and I had more to learn. And I could feel even better than I didn't realize I could feel even better than I thought I had already, gotten to that point where like, I'm here, I feel great, I'm doing these things and I've learned so much. But it was really an humbling and eye-opening experience to realize, oh, there is so much more to learn. I could feel even better than I thought I could. And what's really interesting is that one thing that I still had to learn and that I have become so passionate about helping other moms learn is how to eat during the day.
Yeah.
How to just eat food during the day. And you
Tell
know
us.
what? Like so many of us, I would say like the vast majority of us say, I don't have time to eat during the day. I just don't have time. The kids just don't let me. I just don't have time. And I literally have to now, like I joke that I parent from the dining room table because I now have my set meals that I eat 5 entire meals every single day. And sometimes that's going to be when my kids need me and they're going to have to wait because I'm sitting at the table and I'm eating my meal. And that was like for a mom, like that is huge. That is a huge,
Yes.
corner to turn. And so that's like been the first step. That was the first step for me to like really realize what was needed to take care of myself. And that's like the first step that I try to communicate to other moms.
Well, and even for the people, and I'm sorry to interrupt because I'm super passionate about our dietary practices, right? I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I am a recovery nutrition coach. I'm a food addiction coach, but I'm a real person, a real woman who has recovered from anorexia, from disordered eating, food addictions, body dysmorphia, etc., but also have realized the power and the healing capabilities of food. So I'm super passionate about this, but I want for any of you business professionals, entrepreneurs that are listening who are like, I'll need to hear that part because my kids aren't small and at home, You still also, that was horrible. You also use the dialogue. I don't have time. Believe me, I have the conversation with my spouse. I have the conversation with all of my adult children. I have the conversation with my grandchildren. We always have time to eat. It's about being prepared and having it be important. And the important piece is, how much fuel do you need to be running? How much energy do you want to have? How do you want to think and feel in your day? Do you want to be irritated, agitated, annoyed, have mental fog? I don't know, right? Like the list goes on, because that's what happens without food. Now, also what food you put in is important. And I know you're going to elaborate on all of this, but I like this analogy. So we all drive vehicles. Maybe we don't all drive a car, but here's the deal. When you turn 16 or however old it is that you get your driver's license, wherever it is you live, if you're told this is the only car you will ever get, something tells me you're going to put in the right gasoline, the right oil, the right brake fluids, the list goes on, right? You're going to put all the right things in, probably premium brands at that, right? And you're going to rotate your tires. You're going to, all the things. However, we know for 100% fact that this is our only body, right? So if we didn't take care of the car and say, put sugar in the gas tank, we know it's not going to run very far at all. If we put fuel into the oil component, it's not going to run very far. If the tires don't have air, we're going nowhere, right? Like, so you get it, right? But in our bodies, we're going to put in processed, packaged, preservative-ridden food, right? Or we're going to starve it and we're going to eat, whatever convenient thing that, comes across our plate. If we just simply were mindful and looked at our lifestyle and said, how can I best prep, right? My favorite thing to do. I get up, I get my steps in, I walk up the stairs, I walk past the refrigerator, I grab a baggie of apple slices and I return to my desk. Or I get up and I grab, a slice of cheese and some lunch meat and I come back, right? Like, it's about making it important and keeping your body fueled with the best ingredients or the highest quality, close to earth items. Would you agree? Something along that?
Yeah, no, I love that analogy, and I'm probably going to steal it because I think, we forget that we only have one body. We forget that this is it. This is what we got, and we only get one life. And so even if you haven't come to the place where you can appreciate having one body, at least we can work on appreciating that we only get one life and we want to feel like we want to enjoy it. And I think that that's another big part of my mission too, is being able to compare how I felt with my first pregnancy and postpartum to my second, and realizing that life is meant to be lived joyfully. It's not meant to, you can't face certain chapters of your life with this survival mindset of, I just got to get through it. I just got to put my head down and suffer until it's over and then get to the next one and hopefully it'll be better. It's about enjoying the one that you're in and feeling good and feeling yourself well so that you can feel good is a huge part of that. So yeah, I love that.
Wouldn't you say that when we put our head down and power through, and also the other part that you said was, we're meant to enjoy it. What I see and what I notice and observe most is that what happens is we're putting our head down because we want to power through this one situation that passes quite quickly. We put our head down to power through it, but we're bringing the uncomfortable along and we're missing everything that's happening in the now because of something back here. And then we end up ruminating and wallowing and, languishing in this thing because now we're talking about it as we go forward, right? Like, I can't believe this happened. this was terrible. This was, a catastrophe. And we keep talking about it. We keep it alive. We keep it in the present. And now we have this past stuff with us, and it's heavy and it's weighed down. There are no do-overs. So you might as well leave it where it started and keep going forward with your head held high, with at least a positive outlook, right? Like, I only get one chance at this. So if I've been eating fast food all this time and I don't like the shape of my body, my first step is stopping the fast food joint. And then go from there, right? Like, it's all forward moving. The only thing that lives in a backward stance is our mindset, because we choose to revisit, we choose to attach past bad experience to new ones. We just are constantly doing that instead of always being in what's right in front of our face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, to sort of counter that, or to look opposite of that, to say like, oh, well, and I see this a lot. Oh, well, it'll get easier when I'll be more capable to do that when, and kind of,
I will win.
Yeah. Instead, and to your point too, in terms of the past, like, especially when you're thinking about food, when people say, oh, well, I ate yada, yada yesterday, there's no point in eating better today. But really, if you stay in the present and you say, even if you had fast food for breakfast, what can you eat for lunch? Like, don't let your breakfast affect your lunch. Like, every meal is a new opportunity. Feel good and just because you ate fast food for breakfast doesn't mean the whole day is shot or that you did anything wrong. It's just one meal at a time. And you still had a good day if you respected your body. And sometimes you really do. And I actually have this conversation a lot with people, like, I love pizza. I do. I just really love pizza. And it's something that I even still, like, Friday night pizza night, I have to have this conversation with myself. Am I going to eat the delivery pizza, or am I going to eat something else? And some weeks I'm like, I'm eating that pizza and I'm going to enjoy it. And some weeks I'm like, meh, I don't really feel like feeling like that. Because, I'll eat it and I'll enjoy it. And then afterwards I don't feel quite as good.
Yeah.
And some weeks I'm like, I don't feel like feeling like that. I'm going to make my own food. And some weeks I'm like, I really want that pizza. And so I think to be able to, like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, just,
No.
Live your life and don't eat the pizza and then hate yourself for the next 3 days.
Well, that goes back to
Yeah.
living for yourself first without feeling guilty, selfish, punished, or restricted. Make everything a conscious decision, right? I prompt my clients, and of course I work with some varying levels of severity, right? But I prompt them to, while you're making the decision, and am I going to eat the pizza? Am I going to make myself something else? Am I going to have that beer, or am I going to have, soda water? Am I going to, do I need this shirt in 10 colors, or is the one color enough? Because we have a lot of issues when we're talking about our negative attachments or habits or addictions. Anyway, I will tell them, know your why. If there's an emotional purpose attached to why you're going to say yes to the pizza, then you really ought to change it to no, right? Because if it's, I've had such a stressful week, I feel sad or deflated, or if it's, I want to feel happy, I want to feel pleasure, right? Which is usually people on Fridays had a stressful week, I need to unwind, so I'm going to go drink. Makes no sense, right? Like, sure, it's going to, give you, but it exacerbates problems anyway. But so if you have an emotional need, right, that emotional eating is a problem, and it lands us in a bad space. So if it's, that pizza looks good, it smells good, I'm eating it because I want it, I feel like I just want to eat pizza, I know the ramifications, I know what the after effects are going to be, I'm willing to accept the consequences, I know it's not going to, make me gain 15 pounds. I know it's, all these things. If you can be intuitive about it, right? Mm-hmm. Not in your emotional mind, then it's okay. But it's that it's that emotional thing that we assign to the things outside of us to bring us peace, joy, comfort, relief, whatever.
I feel like I need a notebook because I mean, like, this is solid gold. Like, I need to write this down. This is so good. It's like, you put to words so well. That's amazing. And like, I'm about to like text my husband because, yeah, when you attach an emotion, like, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I should send you my 3-part series. You can listen to it. Yes, just please. A shorty, right? But it's so true. If we look at, right, like, you want to be healthy because you want to enjoy your life. You aren't looking to be healthy so that you feel valid. You're not looking to be physically fit so that you feel attractive, right? Like it's about the meaning and the purpose that we put behind it. Mm-hmm. So, when I hear, and this will take it to an extreme, but when I hear addicts, really attaching their chemical substance use to all of this past trauma, I can't, because you don't know how hard it was for me. All of these things, I have to debunk that for them because I've experienced it. But the thing is I've also lived through trying, that whole self-medication thing. It doesn't make anything go away or better. In fact, it exacerbates it. Once you quit, you remove that emotional purpose, right? You quit relying on something outside of you to make you feel better, mm-hmm. or safe or secure or whatever excuse you attach to it, and you quit carrying around the big old bag of whatever that has come and gone in your life, and you put it down, then you can say, I want to see myself as healthy, fit, well-nourished, emotionally stable, emotionally intelligent, leading by a great example for my children so they know they have the autonomy to be the unique being that they are, mm-hmm. right? Because I'm sure you see this, parents that are stressed out about their children's eating habits. Like, mm-hmm. I hear it all the time, right? And generally it's, I steer them right back to their own eating habits and how they're deflecting it onto their children. Like, you're eating candy in the closet. You can't transfer at least your child is eating it outwardly, right? Like, we want to get this conversation going so that we're having open dialogue with our kids. We want them to grow up to being self-sufficient, well-rounded members of society.
Yeah. And to that point about, I'm sorry, what was that?
So teach them to do laundry. Teach them to make themselves a sandwich, right? Teach them, lead by good example.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that point about, leading by example in terms of like eating habits, like clearly like food is a huge part of like my whole thing. But even since becoming a mother, I think it was probably when my older son was around 3 or 4 years old, I discovered like this whole new way of feeding kids. Because he was really picky. The list of foods he was willing to eat was just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I was beyond stressed about it. Like, it was this whole, because there is so much attached to your kid. You feel like a failure that they're not eating any vegetables, and you worry that they're not going to grow, and they're going to grow up to have all these whatever problems and stuff. But I discovered this new way of feeding kids that is low pressure, and you don't bargain with them about food. You don't make food a power thing. You teach them to listen to your body, and being able to, and learning that, and then having another child and going through teaching them to eat and seeing them listen to their bodies, which is something that we can't even really do very well anymore. And seeing how, as my older son got older, and seeing that point at which he kind of stopped listening to his body. Like, it's almost like, I think it was when he was like 5 or 6, that like you could tell that he started eating food because it tastes good. It tasted really good. And he felt this, almost restrictive mindset, like, oh, I got to eat all the candy now because I'm not going to get candy again later. I'm at a birthday party. This is my only chance to eat candy. And it was like a switch that was flipped. Like all of a sudden, kids go from listening to their bodies, I'm full, I'm done eating now, to not listening to their bodies anymore. It was just this really, and so now that I've seen that and I've viewed that and I become aware of that, it's something that I've been working with my son on, listen to your tummy. If your tummy is full, like, we'll have pizza again another day. You don't have to eat another piece of pizza if your tummy is full. And, when another family member says, eat all your vegetables so that you can have dessert later, I whisper to him and I say, you don't have to do that. You listen to your belly. And that's sort of like a side passion. It's like,
Well, because we're conditioning. And I use this analogy all the time. Conditioned ways of being, right? When my age, for me, okay, this is what it looked like. When you're little, you fall down, you scrape your knee, you get a popsicle. You do well in school, you get an award or a certificate. You get a reward. And for me, it was, what cake do you want? Or what special dinner do you want? And if you went to the doctor, you got a lollipop, and, and so on, right? Birthdays, cake, ice cream, everything's overindulgent and centered around food and this whole reward system, right? And so if you think about this, you've got parents leading by example, you've got kids watching, right? We're giving them a hand to mouth. We're giving them, a reward. If you do this, I'll give you candy. If you do that, you can have whatever. And in the same respect, we're leading by the example of, it's the end of my work week, or it's the end of my day. Mommy's having wine, daddy's having his cocktails, whatever it is. Or on the weekend, it's like, we had a stress, and we're leading by barbecues and alcohol or whatever. For me, I learned at my father's funeral, that alcohol could be a way to help you smile through hard times, because I was 12. I didn't understand. I was distraught. I was sad, and the adults were smiling. And I looked at them, and the common thread was cigarettes and beer. Well, sign me up. And so at 12, I signed up, right? Conditioning. So we're leading by that example. So as, to your practice, right? Teaching moms, sorry, there's a little bug there. We want to be leading by that example. Candy shouldn't be a reward or, a punishment, like hang it over their head. It's something that, as long as you use it in moderation, or we teach them, like, why do you want something sweet? Because sometimes we want something sweet and it's because we need more calcium, right? So like, it's also a way for us to evaluate what we're feeding them throughout the day and making sure that they're getting the nutrients that their little bodies need, right?
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, that was a long one.
No, yeah. You're right. This is just a discussion. This is going to go this way and then that way. Yeah, no, you're totally right. And as I speak, I thought I heard a little scream in there like they were fighting, but I think we're good.
Are we good? Yeah. Well, and so I want to give you the space. So you work with moms, helping them, navigate parenthood. You help them navigate understanding the children, but also help them. And this is just seeing if I'm catching this right. You also help them allow their children to discover themselves.
So I guess I shouldn't say like, that's sort of just like a little side passion of mine that I like to discuss. But in terms of my business, I really do just focus on the mom and helping the mom take a few minutes to herself to make herself some food. And sometimes for a lot of people, this is how it started with me, it was literally just, I made myself a protein shake and took a vitamin because at the time, that was all that I could grant myself. And that was enough to say, I'm taking care of myself right now. That was where I had to start. And it grew from there. And so that is, starting moms, like, where can we start? What is the smallest thing that you can start with that will give you that sense of satisfaction, that sense of, I don't want to say reward, but coming back to taking care of yourself and recognizing that you are valued and that you deserve some priority and some time and some, something that's just for you. And so that's it in a nutshell.
Well, I think that's amazing. So that's one piece of you, right? That's your primary, correct? That's your primary passion. That's where that's where you like to do most of your work with your clients, correct?
Yeah. So that's sort of how it all started. And it has grown from there in terms of, wanting to go deeper. Once we get moms to take that first step, like going a little bit deeper and looking at, how are they eating for the rest of the day? Like, what are their, how is their sleep? How is their energy? How is your mood? Because, like I said, like depression, anxiety was something that I had to address in myself and find alternative ways to deal with. And, there was lots of podcasts involved and mindset work and exercise. And so it definitely became a more multifaceted thing that, you start with one thing, you kind of start with like scratching the surface, and then you want to grow and learn more and see how much more you can help people once you've helped them make that tiny step. And with the hybrid athlete training, that's a very new thing that, like I said, I'm not fully there yet. But I just think it's another way. For me, it was, especially with COVID and how that sort of uprooted everyone's routine. And it was exactly what I needed in that moment, but also realizing that it can be something that I can do forever too. And so helping other moms realize that, being physically fit doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and run 10 miles, or you have to go kill yourself at a gym for an hour. It can be 30 minutes and that's all you need. I mean, I think that that's another thing, and we can go off on this tangent too. Something that I learned about myself is, especially during COVID, but I think probably for longer than that, I was using exercise. You're told exercise is stress relief, exercise is good for mental health, but there does get to be a point where it actually becomes a crutch. It actually becomes part of the problem. And that was, so that was a huge eye opener for me too. And I see so many moms say, like, I have to go out and run, or I'll just, I have to run 5 miles, or I have to kill myself with that HIIT workout, or else I'm just crazy for the rest of the day. And it's like, well, we need to talk about that. We need to address that.
Yes.
So that's sort of been the other side of it too.
Well, that's the negative attachment. And I love that you're helping people with that, because although my work is different, I do prompt them often, like, sure, let's get recreation, let's have physical activity, but you cannot be so married to your morning spin class that if you can't make it for whatever reason, your whole world crumbles. Like, there's got to be a different answer, and it's okay to say, this is a stress reliever for me. This is how I can stay out of needing anxiety meds, or whatever it is, right? However, you have to be bendable, flexible, and pliable in your life. So you have to have a lifestyle that is lifelong, manageable, and maintainable. So I'm sorry if you're 30 and you're listening, whatever you're doing now may very well not be manageable and maintainable into your 60s, right? Like, I used to work out 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. There was a period in my life, again, I touched on the body dysmorphia and the issues, right? There was a period in my life that was me. I had 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's insane. It clearly was not lifelong, manageable, and maintainable. And so it's about balance, right? Like, you have to be open and willing to add, edit, delete, and I'd make adjustments along the way.
Yeah, for
Especially
sure.
when you're a mom.
Yeah, absolutely. Finding the thing that, because, you can kind of end up in an all or nothing thing, like, oh, well, I never have time to do any exercise, or I have to do way more than my body actually needs because mentally I'm addicted to it.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I remember so when I started with my trainer, I was in that place where I had to go out for an hour and I had to be drenched with sweat by the end of the workout, or I did not feel like it had done its job. And so the first workout that I did with her, I barely broke a sweat. It was half the time that I usually spent working out. And I didn't get that stress relief. I didn't get that adrenaline rush of stress relief that I had become so addicted to. And I started crying, and I messaged her and asked if I could work out more. And she said, no, find another form of stress relief. And it was like, and now it was, at the time, I hated her. I was like, this is a mistake. I never should have done this. I fought it so hard. But that was exactly what I needed. And now I see it everywhere. Now I see so many people that are in that same pattern. And I want to say, you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be that way. Your body doesn't
Actually, this time of year, right? We see all the all and nothings are coming out January, and then right in that, spring, summer cusp, right? Everybody's like, oh, I got to get bikini ready. That is my least favorite line ever, because what is bikini ready? I tell them, you're too ambiguous. Like, you need to be more specific, because we can go to Target right now and get you a bathing suit.
Yeah.
They got lots of bikinis, and they're usually hanging out there every day. And so you're ready, right? We'll just put a bikini on you. You're ready. And so I literally will get them to define what they mean. And the same with, I need to be on a diet. South Beach. What are some of the other ones? Atkins. I don't know. The whole 30. And it's like, and they're constantly either in one or the other. And I'm like, how about we don't go on a diet at all? And how about we create a dietary practice that won't cause us a need to go, and a relationship with food that won't cause a need to do diets. Now, quite frequently, I have to, refer to somebody that's, more of a specialist. But when it comes to the cognitive attachment, I got that piece. Right?
It's hard though, because no matter what, if you go to a dietitian who gives you a meal plan that will get you to your goals, if you're not mentally healthy enough to, if you don't have a good relationship with food, you're going to, be so tied to that meal plan, and you're not going to know what to do outside of it.
Yes.
That, it's really important to make sure that you deal with both.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what you do.
Absolutely.
Now I'm like, I gotta learn everything she
learned. Well, we can catch up and get back up to speed. It has been some time, because I remember, I think you were moving.
Yeah. And so that was
the last time we spoke.
Yeah. A whole year ago.
Yeah. It hasn't been a whole year. It's gone by so fast, but absolutely. I mean, we can do this again anytime you want, right? And we can come up with something very specific that we want, whatever. I just am so excited to hear that, or to even allow space for people to hear from other people. Like, this isn't odd. This is across the globe, women everywhere, and men. Don't get me wrong, guys. I know you're out there. I know you're listening. We love you. I love working with my male clients, but women out there everywhere, we struggle with that. And so we find ourselves getting up in the morning, doing everything for everybody. And in regular world, I guess, we'd be sending the kids off to school, right? Hubby being off at work, and we'd be doing the house chores or errands. And we get stuck in this rut. And instead of, creating a lifestyle that affords for us to care for ourselves first, we end up doing things like snacking on garbage, having a bottle of wine in the middle of the day that nobody knows about, right? Like y'all know who I'm talking to, right? You got a stash in the back of your closet, whether it's alcohol or candy or items you bought at the store, right? We go out to do our errands. We go for 3 things that the kids need, and we come back with 25 things that weren't on the list. And we get home and we're like, how am I going to get this in? What's going to be my justification, right? Because we're trying to fulfill ourselves with things instead of with balance, right? With purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a pursuit.
I have to admit, I'm glad that we're talking now more in depth, because one of the things that I never forgot when you and I first talked was, and I was actually, when we first spoke, I don't know if I said this to you, but I was actually in a really dark place at that time. It was the height of COVID. It felt like our country was burning down. I had left California, a place that I loved so much, and I still miss it every single day. I'd taken my kids away from their friends. I'd left my husband behind in California for a few more weeks, and I was just in a really dark place. And actually, when you mentioned, the mom who has an extra glass of wine in the middle of the day to get through the rest of the afternoon, I was like, I have done that. Now I'm so glad we're speaking now, because I have seen that pattern in myself, and I am now, this is a T. And I have come to the other side of it. And so I feel like I'm definitely in a better place to talk to you and share with you, and hopefully share with whoever's watching. But I've always been really grateful to you and for that little interaction that we had, because I don't think you know how much I needed it at the time.
Well, I didn't, but I'm happy. And I was so glad that I met a neighbor, right? Because we're close. I met a neighbor when she was leaving.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is a bummer.
I know.
I felt like we had such a good synergy going, and I was really disappointed. And, I hope, or I'm glad that anything that I left you with when you were leaving was at least enough to hold on to, that you're still on this side of things. Even when we tip our watch, everybody has, and I'll tell you, just like I tell my clients, if you hit a low point, it's okay. It's how you pick yourself back up. Right. Like, I don't buy into that whole relapse, restarts, everything, mentality. Like, if that means we have more to figure out. It means there's more to your onion to peel. There's just other things, and it could just be something that you needed to experience and move through to afford you the ability to grow into, a new level of greatness. Because I think you're amazing. You're a very impressive lady. And I appreciate you being here very much. I'm going to go ahead and sign off with everybody, but don't hang up, because I want to make sure that we make our plans for going forward. But everybody, we're going to have Julie back as often as she will. Again, I gave you the lineup for July. Please drop us a message. Julie's information is right in there in the description. In the comments later, she can drop in her her Facebook page, however she wants you to contact her. But we'll send it, put in the comments, send us a message. I put my phone number there. Send me a text, whatever. If there's a topic or something that we said today that you want us to go into deeper, let us know. We'll come back and we'll talk about it. Right? Or maybe we'll create a group and we can just have a private conversation and invite you all to join us, whatever that looks like, right? But it'll be led completely by the people and what they send, or it'll be led by us most likely. But anyway, everybody, we will see you next week. Wave to Julie. We'll talk soon.